and then you're seeing other people turn on and learn how to do their parts, and then learn how to take it to a new level that you never even thought was possible, that you might not have been able to do yourself. Boy, that is really exciting. I started my career path when I was in college because I could not figure out what major to do. And I started taking computer science classes as a minor concentration area because they were easy for me and they were fun and I liked them. And in my junior year, I got a job at IBM. And I was the first intern at the regional level, and I really enjoyed that so much. And so I stayed with IBM as an intern for about 2 years or a year and a half, and was hired on after that to work in information systems at IBM in their very large Chicago insurance office. And after 10 years with IBM, which included me moving to the Quad City area, I then wanted to run my own business. And I took a buyout. IBM was moving from 400,000 employees to 200,000 employees. They offered everyone a voluntary package. And I decided to take that and then found a company here because I saw small and medium businesses did not have the kind of technology that would enable them to thrive. A lot of the people that were supporting them were part-time people or worked at night, or they just couldn't find anybody. And I thought, well, I can do that work. Why not me? Why can't I do that? So I started the company out of the basement of my house. And then I moved up to the bedrooms. And then I started renting space in downtown Davenport and just kept adding people as those opportunities that customers gave us got bigger and bigger, and that led to Twin State today, which is about 65 employees and in business for now 25 years. So the question of what made me want to start a business isn't just one simple answer, right? It's maybe like 3 simple answers put together. One is I always like to be independent and have freedom. And the second is I saw an opportunity to give great customer service or just be in an industry I loved and provide something I didn't see the marketplace providing. My perspective was that I was an engineering manager and I was also working in IBM Quad Cities, and I saw that small to medium-sized businesses were having trouble getting the technology support they wanted. And I ended up moving into a business partner enablement role. So I was a business partner manager, and I would help businesses that wanted to be in IT provide support to local companies. And I did that for several years as part of my responsibility. And I kept thinking, gosh, I could do this. Gosh, I could do this. And I thought, why don't I do this? I can do this. Sometimes that was because I was frustrated that the way I saw that it could be done wasn't being executed before my very eyes in that great way. And I thought, well, gosh, at least I could do this better, even if I'm not as qualified. Maybe I can do that. And I thought, why not me? Why can't I do that? So that desire for freedom, the desire to provide something I saw was missing. And then lastly, I'm an entrepreneur that creates. So creative people like to architect things. They see something no one else sees. They like to come up with solutions that maybe they don't find in the marketplace. And as a creative person, I like to express that creativity through creation of opportunity for the companies I support, opportunity for employees that we have. And that is sort of a drive. It's compelling, like it pulls you. You're interested in it, you're engaged in it. And so those 3 things together are the simple reason why I started my own business. So the question is, as a kid, was I interested in technology, or, was there something that happened at that young age? And the fact is, even after I graduated from college, there were not PCs. We didn't have those until about a couple years after I was working for IBM. And so we didn't have technology like that. Now, was I drawn to fixing mechanical things? Absolutely. I was the house manager for my residence when I was in college. I had like 110 girls living in the building that we were in, and I made sure all the kind of organizational duties of running that house. I'm good at repairing things. I can see sequences. And I found computer science to be pretty interesting and like a puzzle to be solved. So those things, as a kid, I like organizing things. Like if I told you stories, they would be scary, right? Like I find it relaxing to categorize and organize things. So if you go into like my books, they're organized. I could organize them by color. I could organize them by subject matter. I could organize them by how old they are. And I find that relaxing. So categorizing, organizing, solving, relating, those are things that were relaxing to me. It's true. There's another thing that I never tell people, but if you tell me that you like to organize your closet and you find it relaxing and your things are fairly, together, I actually, you sort of think like a lot of people that are, but I hate to ask that because I don't really want to, it's very intrusive. Like, Taylor, tell me about your closet. Is it organized or a big?
It's very organized. Love organizing it.
Yeah. See, I mean, you're in an industry where,
right, it makes sense.
So I heard another thing. I heard Julia Roberts say that Mahjong, she was talking about Mahjong. And so there's people that play this really fun game. It's taking random tiles that are thrown at you and then organizing them into a pattern. So you're bringing organization out of chaos. And so organizing chaos is a fun thing. And in some ways, that's what we do in technology. We're organizing chaos, or we're architecting something out of thin air that doesn't exist, right? It's in your mind. You put it together, how it could relate, work process flow, improving what happens for people when they sit at their computer all day long. It's not about the computer. It's about what they're doing on the computer. And that is a really fun puzzle to solve. And then it makes people's lives better because they're enjoying what they're doing and they're efficient at it. And that feels really good. I have to have everything organized around me. Everything has to be neat. And then I make this mess, this sort of creative mess, because you do have to come up with new products. I mean, think about artificial intelligence today, right? Like, how do people do that? You need to figure out how to pilot it. There's different ways to go at it. There's different problems to solve with it. You need to figure out, gosh, how do I want to solve this? And there might be 3 or 4 ways you could go at it. And what's the best way for that particular place to solve, to make people's lives better, again, through the technology. And that's a whole new puzzle to solve today. It's pretty fun. So the hardest part of getting my business started was giving myself permission to make a change that would let me create the business. And so I gave myself about a 1-year window. I went to Eastern Iowa Community College to learn how to do a business, run a business, organize a business. A wonderful guy there taught a class in it. And then I wrote business plans. So the hardest part was going through the creation process to select what was the compelling thing to do. After that, simply incorporating, I got a lot of encouragement from my spouse. He was really terrific about it. And he's like, go to a lawyer, you incorporate, it's no big deal. And so the hardest part was figuring out what you wanted to do. And then you need to do it for a long time, usually. So you've got to be pretty dedicated and you have to have a lot of tenacity because people are not always encouraging about starting a business or being in business or whatever you're going to do. The hardest lessons I learned in business was that you need to listen to your advisors at times. There are blind sides you have. And when you're younger, when you started, which I was, you don't always know your blind spots. So you need to trust people around you that may have better insight or see something that you see. And then you need to maybe do what they're advising you to do, even if you don't want to or you maybe don't even believe that they're right. When I finally started doing that, that really helped me become scaling focused and more transformational, to listen and hear what others are saying. You still have the right to, as an entrepreneur, do it the way you want to do it. But listening first and then evaluating and analyzing dispassionately is very important, especially when you're starting out. I think that is probably the hardest lesson I learned. Doing what someone else thought was the right thing to do when you knew it was wrong, but guess what? They were right. Likewise, though, oftentimes you see things that others don't see, and so you need to then pursue that vision. But when people are trying to help you with that vision, it's good to really evaluate what they're telling you dispassionately. And the hardest thing in running a business is work-life balance, especially when you've got a family and you're doing it, because wherever you are, you think you're in the wrong place. Now, I don't know if everybody feels that way. From whatever your viewpoint, when you're looking at how do I feel about this, I feel like when I'm in business, maybe are my kids doing okay? And then when I'm with my kids, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should be doing this in business. And so that was really hard, especially when you're starting out and you have babies. And everyone is relying on you because you're their leader. So you need to be available. And balancing that is hard because you're trying to balance everybody's needs and also recognize you have needs too. So you've got to take care of yourself and make sure that you're the most healthy, physically strong, mentally strong. So that means you have to get a good night's sleep, you have to eat right, like you need to do the things that make you best able to support everyone that's relying on you for what they need from you. And that is, you have to be very conscious about that. When you're starting a company, you're starting out and it's small. When you're growing a company, you have to keep upscaling your processes and people's responsibilities and what they're doing. So that means change. It's like if you had to change your address every year or two and then reset everything. That's harder to do because you have to ask yourself, is the way I'm doing it now the right way to do it? Gosh, it was 2 years ago. Is it the right way now? And you have this backdrop of technology changing, people's skill sets changing, your consumer and business nonprofit organizations, what they need changes. So there's this constant change going on, and you need to not only adapt to it, but optimize and improve on it. And you need to reset every couple of years. And so as you keep layering up, you're pulling people along and they may not have the vision you have. They don't know, hey, we better get ready for what's going to happen in 3 years. And you don't do that in a couple weeks. So now you need to convince all the people. And, when you just have 5 people, it's different than when you've got 40 people that you've got to really convince that this is the right direction to take the company, and you need to preserve the culture of the company. And their perspective may be, well, we didn't ever used to do it this way. And you think, well, yeah, we did 10 years ago. Our people, on average, have been with us for 6 years. And that's really incredible with the technology industry and the rate of change people have gone through. So we've got some really great people, and we want to honor that culture, but we need to keep layering it up. So I had to keep doing something different. I used to install servers. I was the engineer. And then I had to be in sales, and then I had to be the CEO, and all those things meant that you had to do something different. And now I'm the founder and coach, and so everything needs to be executed through other people. And those are the kinds of changes you have to adapt to personally, and then the entire company has to go along with you on that too. Those are hardest. Scaling is hardest. You're not the right general for that job, right? At some point, you might not be the best person for that job, or that job outgrew you, or your skill set isn't needed for that particular thing. A different skill set's needed. And you need to not only recognize that in others as the leader, but you have to recognize it in yourself. And what needs to really happen is to be generous, because you really want the company and its people to thrive and survive, and the community to thrive and survive. So you're not putting yourself first. You've got that stewardship relationship of serving first your community and your employees, and then yourself. And if you do all those things right, it's win-win-win. But it's very hard to be in business. Anybody running anything or even working for anyone recognizes that it's hard to do. And it's hard to do it right. So you're always kind of having to be conscious of it. It doesn't bother me. I'm just conscious of it. But I do sleep like a baby. I do usually. It's only a couple times a year that I might be restless, It's fun because you're creating something all the time. And then you're seeing other people turn on and learn how to do their parts, and then learn how to take it to a new level that you never even thought was possible, that you might not have been able to do yourself. Boy, that is really exciting. I mean, to watch the people here like thrive and come up with programs and plans and have the customers react so positively to them, like, wow. That's just a wow. That's a dream come true. It really is. Is there one thing I would have done differently? If everything leads to where you are today, I don't know what I would have changed. How about that? I don't know that there's one thing I would have done. I'm sure, I mean, you make mistakes constantly, but don't you? I mean, I do. But you have to be able to say, this is more like a batting average, not like you have to hit a perfect note every time, because otherwise you're not really tinkering and experimenting. You're not innovating. If your goal is to always be perfect, that really is an inhibitor, because it makes you afraid to try something. So I don't know that I definitely have things that didn't work out the way I wish they had. But you also have to recognize you're not trying to control the entire world. You're literally just trying to put in your best effort and get a great output. So from that standpoint, I don't really have anything. I've always tried to do my best. And I guess the hardest thing is hearing when you've let somebody down or you haven't done your best in their opinion, and they give you advice on it and you have some insight and go, oh yeah, maybe I didn't. Maybe I could have been a different person here and I made a bad decision. But you just have to keep looking forward and not backwards.
You learn from it, right?
I do. Not everybody does. I mean, you have to be open to a lot of criticism, and when you get to a certain point, no one really tells you you're doing a good job. What they do is they don't complain. I don't know if this is relevant to anything, but they expect you to do a good job, and they need that from you. So silence is golden. It means you're good. And then you need to make sure you're available and keep asking, because the bigger you get, it's harder for people to tell you things that you might not have observed or something that needs to change. They may be reluctant to tell you that. And it's really important in continuing to optimize and thrive to listen to what people are thinking about and weigh their words, see if it applies, and then make sure you've got a trusting relationship. Because if you do with the people you work with, you might not be able to fix the thing that needs to be fixed right then, but you need to make sure that they hear it, or you're giving your explanation for why that can't work the way they hope or wish or envision themselves. So it's really making sure you're as open as possible to listening, and yet you still need to have a vision that you follow and provide direction. So it's truly keeping people aligned once you get to a certain size. And that just gets harder the bigger it is, because you're leading just a bigger group.
Well, we think you're doing a good job.
Oh, well, thank you. You can leave that in. So the question that I really like thinking about every once in a while is, would I do this all over again? And my really fast and pat answer is absolutely not. And there's a Wall Street Journal article that interviewed one of the three founders of NVIDIA, which is very, very hot right now. They make a technology chip that is very sought after and very powerful. And he said, well, the little secret of a lot of us entrepreneurs is we'd never do it again, because it was so hard that you get in the middle of it and think, only a fool would do this, or I must really have intense dislike for myself to put myself through all this work and trying to figure out really hard things. And so you get in the middle of it because you're just this incredible optimist and you see what can happen. And then you're in the middle of it and you almost, it's like you're in the middle of a raging river and you must go forward or you're going to drown. And so you just keep going forward, and then you think of the next thing, and the hill looks so gentle over there. But there's really a lot of bears hiding behind the trees and so on, and you don't realize it. So it's a lot of work. It is hard to make a lot of the decisions you have to do, and there's not always a clear-cut answer on things you are building. And so it's hard to do. I probably wouldn't do it again if I knew how hard it was, but I love that I did it, and I can't stop doing it. So I guess a lot of us that our creative entrepreneurs are doing it because you're just almost drawn to it or compelled, or an unseen force is making you do this, and you're just trying to balance your life to pull it all along at the same time. But it's not really a very easy thing, to tell you the truth. So the question about mentors is a great one, because when I was working at IBM, you were told, and a lot of the reading material says, that you need to have a mentor in order to succeed. And, that you need to like program your lunches, and, someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and they're going to say, you're the person for me, I'm going to mentor you. But mentorship is different, I found. You can pick your mentor. You can even almost thrust yourself upon a mentor and say, could you please help me with some advice? I've really admired what you've done over here. Is there any way I could just have you talk to me for 5 minutes about this? So you can pursue your own mentor, and you can decide what you're going to ask that mentor to help you with. And then your mentors come from all kinds of different places. My mentors were amazing, and they weren't who I expected. My accountant, my insurance agent, one of my customers, more than one of my customers. These are people I'm thinking of that were excellent mentors that took the time to say, hey, I noticed you're doing this. Have you thought about this? Or, gosh, I see you're having trouble with this. Here's how I've seen other people solve that. And then sometimes you can just find someone that you admire, or a couple people you admire, and ask how they did that. And you'd be shocked at how willing people are to help out when you're open to listening and understanding what they're saying. People really are very generous about helping each other. So you can take them to lunch, or you can just call them on the phone, and then make sure you do a favor for them sometime. Be a good sounding board for them. There's something you must be offering them to have a great exchange. I don't know how I don't even know if this is a good answer. What is the plan? I think the plan is to be a successful human being, which means you're having good relationships with people. Having good relationships is the number one thing you can do in your life. How do you have good relationships with people? Well, you're interested in them, right? You're engaged in them. You care about them. So if the plan is to have good relationships with people and then be productive, people tell you, oh, find your passion. But I actually don't necessarily agree with that. Find something that you're good at, that you can offer to the world, and then do that thing. Be productive with your time and your life, and hold your hand out to other people and pull them forward. And that is the plan. But was the plan to move to the Quad Cities and start a technology? No, that was never the plan. That wasn't the plan at all. But I think the plan has worked great, of having a great community, being in a great community, trying to do the best thing you can, and being productive. Like, that plan worked great.